Welcome to our pre-Shabbos discussion. This Shabbos is, a little interesting because it's really supposed to be the fast of Tisha B'Av, but we're pushing it off because we don't fast on Shabbos, of course, unless it's Yom Kippur. But it's Shabbos of Tisha B'Av and also Parshat Devarim. And I was interested in seeing if there is a connection and discussing the question that always comes up this time of year is, should we still be fasting Tisha B'Av? We still have, now we have gotten back this country, this amazing country. We have a strong army and we're mourning and we're sitting on the floor. And is this necessary? So I'd like to know first your thoughts on it, Jonathan.
Well, yes. Thank you very much, Eliza. I think that if you look at Tisha B'Av as in place because of the punishments received, the losing of the land, the being kicked out of the land, the destruction of the temples, etc., then maybe there's less of a need to have Tisha B'Av. But if you look at Tisha B'Av as a kind of a reminder, a wake-up call to what caused these things to happen, or more than that, faults or problems within society or within our own people and the greater world that exists, then I think Tisha B'Av is a good thing to have, really, as a reminder. Maybe we don't have the Sinat Chinam that necessarily had at the time of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, where people were killing each other, but we still have issues in getting along and how to discuss things and how to and there's a lot of personal attacks and not accepting of the other and the other's opinion. So there's always something to work on, and if it's a wake-up call in order to remind us once a year that we have to work on something to improve ourselves, then yeah, it's definitely necessary. I think
Right,
sure.
So that's always what's gotten me through like the last few years is seeing that, we do have so much infighting. And of course, I think it's a little bit myopic or egocentric that we're thinking if just along lines as if, oh, we have our country, we have a place to go, we have a strong army, because our goal, our aim is really, to have world peace and to have the Beit HaMikdash where the Shekhinah can, rest upon us, and to stop short of those goals is very unfortunate. And the reason I think that we haven't achieved those goals are, because of what you said. We haven't learned how to have Avat Chinam, the remedy to Sinat Chinam. But something that I think is really interesting, and that I've seen that the rabbis point out, on Tisha B'Av we read Echa, right? And Echa and Ayeka is the same words, Aleph, Yud, Chaf, Hey, right? So, and it's not just, people say, oh, that's cute, because it's the same letters.
What is Ayeka? What are you
So
referring to?
Right. So Echa, we sit down on the floor and we mourn and we ask God, how could these tragedies happen to us? And Ayeka is the first time we find that letter configuration, Aleph, Yod, Chaf, Hey, in Parshat Bereshit, where Adam and Chava have just committed the sin of eating from the tree. God told them not to. That was the covenant. You can eat from anything, just don't eat from that tree.
Right.
And they did not listen, and they ate from the tree. And then God comes to him. The first thing he says is, Ayeka, where were you? And I feel that is the answer to Echa, is Ayeka, because when we ask Echa, how could this be? How could all this destruction, everything that happened, and we're like, God, how can you do this to us? But the flip side of that is God saying to us, Ayeka, where are you? Where are you in all this? What aren't you doing? What did you do? Also, because it's a covenant, there's agreement between us and God, and two people have to keep that covenant. And we've broken it in a way, and I feel like it's so fascinating, because if you look in Parshat Devarim, when Moshe starts out, he alludes to all the major sins that we did in the Midbar, that was the delay for getting in the land. I mean, and every time God had given us something wonderful, we opted for the other. Like God said, tried to talk to us and give us the Aseret HaDibrot, and we chose, instead we said, no, we don't want this, too much for us. And you turn around, we chose the Chet HaEgel. We were worshiping the golden calf. God tried to give us this heavenly sustenance of the man, and we decided we wanted to choose the other. We want the food we had in Mitzrayim. And the other big sin is, of course, the Meraglim, which Moshe expands on, is that God wanted to give us the land, and the Meraglim come back and they give a report, and they say, take us back. We want to go back to Mitzrayim. God wants to give us the land, and we want to go back to where we came from. So God is giving us these good things, and yet we are turning around and choosing the other. Like God says to Adam, you can have all the trees in the garden, just not this one. And he's like, but I want that one. And I think that the key to the key to the understanding how tragedies can happen is, where do we lie in the situation? What aren't we doing in our part of the bargain? And then Moshe goes on in Devarim to give all the mitzvot in the Torah and tell us what we have to keep the land. And of course it talks about, setting up the judges and having tzedek and mishpat, and to have, you have to have a system, and you have to be fair and moral, and even if you go on in the Parsha Devarim, it even talks about the nations. Don't take their land. That's for them. I set that for them. And it's all inclusive about everybody's rights. Even Reuven and Gad, who didn't want to be in the land, are people who decide to be out of the land, which is okay as long as God says you follow these rules that I give you, and you be fair and just and moral, like I tell you. And it's great to have our country, and it's great that we have our army, but we have to always do our part in terms of doing the best we can to follow God's will for everybody included, for our own people, for our people, let's say, even that don't want to be in this country but will support us, for the surrounding nations to live in peace with them. And until we have all of that, God will turn around and say to us, we say, Eicha, he'll say, well, Ayaka, where are you? I'm not going to do everything for you. You have to do your own part in this. And so until we're doing everything the right way, I think, there's something to mourn. There's something to sit on the floor and say, we're not doing everything we can to have things the way it should be.
Well, obviously, we're not going to do everything we can do, and people aren't going to do everything they can do. But the point is, like you said, Eicha, how can this be happening? How did this happen to us? And God says, Yeka, where are you? Where are you taking your personal responsibility at least? You're not going to be perfect, but at least take the personal responsibility to do the best you can, to try to work together to make things the best it could possibly be, without demanding perfection, obviously. But you got to be on the right road.
Yeah,
exactly.
The right road and the right intentions, and doing in earnest the best we can. So let's try and do that.
So Tisha B'Av is a wake-up call for that, basically.
A wake-up call. And because after Tisha B'Av, we're working our way to the Yom HaNarim, where we say, what can we do to be better people?
Right?
Yeah, so
it all fits together like a glove.
All fits together really nicely. So I hope that you have Som Kal and a great Shabbos. Wishing you the best. Shabbat Shalom.